Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farsi Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And it's wonderful to have you along for the ride, especially after a 13-3 Philadelphia Phillies victory. Yes, over the Baltimore Orioles, who were definitely sellers at the trade deadline, but I don't care. They just they got owned by Charlie Morton in the previous game. So to tee off on Maury Povich, right? Of course. It's pretty nice. They hit 6 home runs in a game. It's pretty nice. For Kyle Schwarber to hit his 39th and 40th home runs of the season, on pace for 58 home runs on the dot, which is only a club record set by Ryan Howard during his incredible MVP season of 2006. Yeah, I'd say last night won pretty well for the Phillies, especially when you also consider an 8-run 6th inning that came with 2 outs after JT Realmuto, Craig Kilborn, I believe it was, on ESPN, the old Sports Center commercials used to always tweet. Wow, that wasn't happening in like 95. But the Sports Center, he'd be like, to all the young players, right? That's stuck in my head still from my youth. To all the young players. JT Realmuto, to all the young players, bust it down the first base line. Especially hit that ball on the left side of the infield. You bust it down the first base line. You put some pressure on that third baseman. Put some pressure on that shortstop. Just for reference, Gunnar Henderson, Orioles shortstop. He had mowed down Trey Turner in the first inning on a very close play, but he made a great play on it, got the ball over to first base quickly, and beat Trey Turner to the bag. JT Realmuto, I think we all agree, it runs well, not just for a catcher, but runs well, but not quite, Trey Turner well. JT Realmuto busted down the first base line, beats the throw by maybe a shoelace or a spike. And what would have been the third out of the inning ends up not being the third out of the inning. The Phillies keep going with 8 more runs being scored, including Harrison Bader's 3-run home run that put the Phillies up 6-3 to break a 3-3 tie. First hit as a Philly, Harrison Bader. Nice to meet you, old Starburst himself. He looks like a Starburst at the plate. There's a lot of colors going on there. And then later in the inning, Kyle Schwarber, his reaction. And there was something funny about the reaction. I didn't know what it was, but then I heard Ricky Bowe on postgame go, it looked like Kyle Schwarber felt bad for hitting that home run. And I go, that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like, oh, you're going to put that there? Well, there's a home run. There's a grand slam. It's like, I'm sorry I got to do this, but bam, it's gone. That's exactly what it looked like. And the Phillies went on to a 13-3 win. They also got home runs, solo shots by Weston Wilson and Edmundo Sosa later in the game. So, why not tack on a couple of more? It was exactly what the Phillies were supposed to do against a team like the Baltimore Orioles. We'll go through it a little bit more, even more in depth in a second. And I guess Howie Roseman just felt a little, pushed aside, a little forgotten by Dave Dombrowski acquiring Johan Duran, which is right now the best show in Philadelphia, the Johan Duran show. Because he had to make a trade. He just said, I got to make a trade. I can't be Dave Dombrowski can't make a trade more recently than me. So he makes a trade, and he gets, I want to make sure I say this gentleman's name correctly, Jacorian Bennett, cornerback out of Maryland. Now, here's my issue. First off, I know a lot of people will just jump on the idea, the cornerback room isn't good. You just heard from Vic Fangio yesterday talk about how it's a really close battle between Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo, and Adoree Jackson has really caught on, and Keely Ringo is really playing well, and now they trade for another corner. This is a depth move. Jacorian Bennett had 8 passes defended last year in 7 starts. He played 10 games, started 7. Just for perspective, I'm not saying he's better than Cooper DeJean, but just for perspective, Cooper DeJean had 6 passes defended. I think Jalen Carter had 8, but whatever. Just for perspective. So, hey, he made the most of his time. That's all I'm saying with that. So good for him. But for me, this isn't as much about the cornerback battle between Adoree Jackson and between Keely Ringo. This is more for me about Moro Ojomo. This is more for me about Ty Robinson, because they traded away Thomas Booker, who, yes, limited, played well last year. And going into the offseason, knowing that Milton Williams would most likely walk, I was hoping, holding out hope that they'd figure out a way Howie Roseman would wave his magic cap wand and figure out a way to keep him here in Philly. But not at that price. Not when you had, two other teams negotiating for him, two other teams pleading for his services, and he got his price to go way, way, way up with the Patriots, thanks to the Panthers also wanting him. But obviously that didn't happen. So I was thinking about Thomas Booker. I was thinking about Moro Ojomo and how these guys are going to step up. I was thinking about Jordan Davis. What's it going to look like when he comes into camp next year? And it turns out he looks like he's ready for the Tour de France. I was just very concerned about what was going to happen to the defensive tackle position, but a guy that was in the mix in my mind was Thomas Booker. So they decided to move on from him, and that makes me feel a hell of a lot better about the status of Moro Ojomo, who's getting a lot of attention in camp, getting a lot of praise at camp, and it also gives me a lot of confidence in Ty Robinson, who I believe it was both Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter talking about he's the real deal. Like, this guy is a mammoth of a human being, and he can move some bodies. And obviously, Cam Jurgens, his former teammate, is excited to have him here in Philly. So for me, this is more so about the defensive tackle position than it is about the cornerback position. I mean, look, I still think it's either going to be Adoree Jackson or Keely Ringo that are going to be your starters. But to me, this screams more about what's going on the defensive line than it does anything else. So that's the way I took this Jacorian Bennett acquisition, as I fight off a sneeze live on camera. So yeah, there you go. With great success, by the way, with great success. So we'll get into the Eagles today. Vic Fangio spoke yesterday. We'll get into Jahad Campbell, the comments he made on Jahad Campbell, as well as the comments Jahad Campbell made. He said one of the things that I think nobody really ever thinks about yesterday when he talked about going to classes in college and still playing football. It's like, it's great to just have football. I think it was Jordan Davis that said the same thing 3 years ago when he was asked about, how's he liking the NFL, that kind of question. And I was like, yeah, it's great to just have football as my job now. I used to have to worry about class and stuff. Now, some people might roll their eyes and be like, oh, they pay people to go to class for them or whatever. Well, no, they physically got to be there sometimes. That's still got to be a pain in the ass. And even if it's limited, you still got to figure out how you're going to work it into your schedule. So Jahad Campbell got into that yesterday. Just like, yeah, it's great to concentrate on football. Saquon Barkley had some great things to say about Jahad Campbell yesterday. Also had some great things to say about his own trash talk. He said his trash talk is the best part about his game. Zach Berman, credit to him. He asked the follow-up question a couple questions later, because I had the same thought. I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Saquon Barkley says that the best thing he does is trash talk. That's the best part. He can trash talk. That's the best part of his game. My mind immediately went to, this guy jumped backwards over another human being, tried to tackle him, and got 5 more yards after that. That he seems to be a better running back on the football field than a trash talker. So I've never heard the man trash talk. I've only heard other people talk about how the man trash talks. But if that's the best part of his game, then damn, I want to hear him mic'd up, man. And I want to hear it unedited. I want to hear it raw. If Saquon Barkley, if the best part of his game is trash talk. Okay. All right, let me hear it. I'm really interested. He was asked about Brandon Graham being a good trash talker, and he's like, BG is more just annoying. He was more annoying. He was more stream of consciousness. That's not what Saquon Barkley said, but that was what he alluded to. He just starts talking. And I think the best example of that, too, was the chicken sandwich game, where I think that was against Washington, where he just kept on talking about the quarterback, or sacks. He kept on talking about sacks like they were his chicken sandwiches. He's like, I'm going to come get my chicken sandwich. And at some point, I'm sure the other team was just like, they have chicken sandwiches here? That sounds delicious. Oh, no. Oh, he's talking about our quarterback. We should probably stop him from getting his chicken sandwiches. And then the other is the mic'd up game against San Francisco 5 years ago in San Francisco, where he just keeps talking, and every once in a while on the film, it's Fletcher Cox being like, "All right, now, like that's enough, BG. Okay, that's enough, okay." And then BG like, "Okay, So yeah, I guess the trash talk is going on well at camp today. And Jihad Campbell, one of the things that, speaking of the word raw, Saquon Barkley just talked about how he is just moving around out there. I would doubt, but I hope. I doubt, but I hope that you see him in that first preseason game on Thursday night. 2 days away from seeing the Eagles in jerseys playing football. 2 days away. Hey, if anything, I'm excited for the Tanner McKee show, man. Let's party. So, yeah, we got all that and more to get into on today's program. All right, let's get into your Philadelphia Phillies. Yesterday, Baltimore Orioles started a 3-game series in South Philadelphia with your Philadelphia Phillies. Bryce Harper gets them started off on the right foot with a 17th home run of the season. An absolute blast, a sweeper up in the zone from Povich, and he blasted 417 feet to center field. Phillies up 1-0. All right, let's keep this going. Unfortunately, O'Neill steps to the plate after a leadoff double by Rutschman in the second inning off Jesus Luzardo. He gets a 2-run home run. That one also 417 feet. This one on a fastball from Jesus Luzardo that was up in the zone. He did not miss it. 2-1 Baltimore. Then Westberg gets a home run off Luzardo in the third inning. And here's the thing that I noticed about the second and third inning. Jesus Luzardo did not allow those innings to get out of control, which to me was a great sign. Was I happy that he gave up 3 runs in the first 3 innings of the game? No. But was I happy it didn't amount into like a 6-run third inning? Yeah. So the Phillies go on the bottom of the third inning. They're down 3-1. Kyle Schwarber. Now here's the Edmundo Sosa steps up, gets a single to center field. Weston Wilson pops out. Trey Turner lines out to center field, a 3-2 count. Kyle Schwarber steps to the plate. So I tell you that to tell you this. 2 outs. 2 outs in the inning. No one's crossed the plate. First inning, Bryce Harper's home run. Trey Turner grounded out to short. Kyle Schwarber struck out on a sinker away. 2 outs. Bryce Harper hits home run in the first inning. In the third inning, 2 outs. Kyle Schwarber absolutely whammies this baseball to deep right field. I saw it in the second deck. Tom McCarthy called it third deck. I don't know if it was off the facing of the third deck, which would be Ryan Howard territory of that home run he hit off Mike Mussina in 2006 that went up to where the old Auto Trader side is now. I don't even know if it's there now. Auto Trader sign in right field up on the facing of the third deck. So I don't know if it hit off of that and carry him down to the second deck, but that ball definitely landed in the second deck. I just don't know if it hit off anything above it. T-Mac was all over the call. Bottom line is it was credited as a 427-foot home run for a 2-run home run to tie the game at 3. Go through the fourth inning, 1, 2, 3, fourth inning for Jesus Luzardo. Okay, looking good. Go through the fifth inning, 1, 2, 3 inning for Jesus Luzardo. Okay, looking pretty good. Sixth inning, 1, 2, 3 inning for Jesus Luzardo. We're still looking good. He was at 79 pitches when he started that sixth inning. Way to go there, fella. Sixth inning, again, 2 outs. Led off by Kyle Schwarber, though, by the way, just for extra added funsies. Kyle Schwarber breaks his bat on a line drive to left field. Bryce Harper steps up. He strikes out at a 3-2 sinker. Looking. JT Realmuto has the turning point of the game right here by hitting that grounder to short. And then he beats it out. They review it, and I go, oh, he's out. He's out. Then they show the other angle of like when the ball actually got in the mitt and when the spike of his cleat hit first base. I went, oh, maybe he's safe. And he was ruled safe. Call on the field stands. Difficult to overturn. The type of situation that makes you go, well, if they would have called him out, maybe that would have stood. But either way, he was called safe. Everything else is a fantasy. So JT Realmuto is now on first base with 1 out. They go and take Povich out of the game. They bring in Martin. Castellanos gets a single to center field. First and second, 2 outs. Something happening here. Harrison Bader steps up, works a 3-1 count, gets a fastball up and in, and he turned on that. 391 feet to left field. 3-run home run. Goes from a 3-3 game to a 6-3 Phillies lead. Old Starburst goes out there, gives the Phillies a 3-run advantage. He's rounding the bases with great euphoria. Nice to see the excitement like that. Otto Kemp then gets the infield single to short. They can't throw to first on that one. Can't be fielded at first either, so now they got another runner on base. Sosa gets a single, his second base knock of the game. First and second again, second time in this inning with 2 outs. Weston Wilson then gets an RBI single to left field. All right, keep on adding. 7-3 in favor of the Phils. Again, all this with 2 outs. And JT Realmuto's hustle play down the first base line, making this all possible. Weston Wilson gets the RBI single, brings in Bryson Stott, who pitch ran for Otto Kemp. Trey Turner goes from an 0-2 count to a 3-2 count. Some questionable calls by home plate umpire Jim Wolf. Yes, that Jim Wolf. He works a walk. They go back to the bullpen. They bring in Geraldo for Martin. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Kyle Schwarber gets back-to-back fastballs, and on the second of the back-to-back fastballs, he belts 390 feet to right center field for a grand salami of a home run, 11-3 in favor of your Philadelphia Phillies, all with 2 outs. 40 home runs now on the season for Kyle Schwarber. I've said this in the past about guys that I've really wanted to be signed here in Philadelphia, and I'm going to say it again. John Middleton. Just stand in the dugout. And the next home run that Kyle Schwarber, I mean, first off, hopefully get it done before then. But for a guy that likes drama, well, for a guy that likes, the limelight, which John Middleton does, and I'm not saying it's disingenuous. I'm not saying he's just doing it for the cameras, But a showman. A guy similar to the man he signed those years ago, Bryce Harper, John Middleton is a showman. Look no further than stupid money. Just come out of the dugout with a nice, clean, crisply printed out contract. And have a pen, preferably those of olden times, preferably that of what might have signed the Declaration of Independence, only a fitting here in Philadelphia. Have Kyle Schwarber, as he crosses home plate, take the feathered pen and put his John Hancock on that contract. And then just hand him a blank check and just say, just fill it out. Whatever you think is fair. I'll throw in a box of cigars. The MVP chants that were coming down as Bryce Harper was stepping to the plate, as Kyle Schwarber was stepping to the plate in that 6th inning, already homered earlier in the game, bases are juiced, you see him walking up, and you start to hear it kind of build, like MVP, 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 MVP. And you're like, what? Oh, this is a magical moment. And then he gets fastball, and he belts it like, of course he did. Phillies add on 2 more with a couple more solo home runs there in the 8th inning. And, hey, just extra shout out there to Seth Johnson, who had not pitched well. Gets 2 outs for the Phillies, issues 1 walk, strikes out 5. Not a bad day at the office for him. Anything for a confidence booster for your young pitcher with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball? Yeah, hey, let's boost that confidence for him. You never know when you're going to need him later. So it was wild. And then after the game, you hear Harrison Bader talk about the electricity in the ballpark. You hear Kyle Schwarber responding to comments made by Ryan Howard about how, go get it type of thing. Like, go get my Phillies record of 58 home runs in the season. I mean, there'd be 18 home runs between now and the end of the year. So he's got essentially a little less than 2 months to do it. Go for it. Kyle Schwarber returned the favor by talking about how return the kind words by talking about how when he was younger and Ryan Howard was still in the league, how he would hit mammoth blasts and all. It was very nice, very respectful of Kyle Schwarber. Rob Thompson flat out said he loves him. Rob Thompson after the game, just like, that's why people love Kyle Schwarber, and I love him. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Let the emotions run wild, man. I do not want to see. I am perhaps jaded or maybe a sociopath. I don't know. When I see guys in other jerseys, when they've been in a jersey for a long time, like the Brett Favre in a Jets uniform, or Aaron Rodgers in a Jets uniform, or Brett Favre in a Vikings uniform, Chase Utley in a Dodgers uniform, Jimmy Rollins in a Dodgers uniform, Jimmy Rollins in a White Sox uniform. That's a little weird. But very rarely does it strike me as, oh, gross, Utley and Rollins, definitely, it got me as, oh, gross. But very rarely does it get me anymore, right? Seeing Kyle Schwarber in any other uniform next year, other than a Phillies uniform, would be rather off-putting. I would very much like John Middleton to make sure that this man is here for a 3-year deal, 4-year deal. He doesn't show any signs of slowing down. He is the perfect DH to have. By the way, he had 2 home runs last night and a base hit. So it was a 3-hit day for Kyle Schwarber. Keep the good things coming, my friend. Keep the good things coming. There's one more thing after the game. Oh, Kyle Schwarber also, along with the Ryan Howard record thing, he also said, "I'm not chasing it. I'm not going for the record. These things just kind of happen, and if they do, great. But it's nice to have the blessing from Ryan Howard, if you will." But yeah, just this team just did exactly what they were supposed to do. Now I know a lot of people might say, "Well, it's the Orioles." Well, yeah, that's exactly what they were supposed to do against the Orioles: win 13-3. And I'll bring this in again for more perspective. Charlie Morton is who they faced game earlier. And they couldn't hit Charlie Morton. So it's good to tee. You just never know what's going to happen when you go to the old ballpark. But the Phillies mashed yesterday, and that makes you feel good. The other thing in all this is as shortly after the Phillies took care of their business against the Orioles, the Mets were blowing a game against the Guardians. Well, the Mets, no, they came back against the Guardians. They went to 10 innings. And then I think it was Beatty that ended up throwing the ball into center field, which led to a run being scored in the 10th. And the Mets never recovered for that. So the Mets lost. Phillies won. Phillies went into yesterday's game a half game up on the Mets. So now they're a game and a half up on the New York Metropolitans in the NL East. So keep it coming, boys. Keep it coming. By the way, they're back at it today. Taijuan Walker on the hill. He'll go against who is it the Phillies are facing today? The name escapes me, unfortunately. Dean Kramer or Kremer. I don't know. Righty versus righty today. Kramer 8-7 with a 4.27 ERA. Taijuan Walker, man, 3.82 ERA, 3-5 on the season. And he's been even better as a starter, much better than he was last year, for instance. Coming off that start against the White Sox, and unfortunately the Phillies couldn't give him much run support. He pitched 5 innings, 2 runs, 7 hits, 2 home runs, both solo home runs that he gave up. Phillies lost that game 9-3. So let's get that going again. What do you say there, boys? Get it going. Get the offense going for Taijuan Walker today. You know what I'm saying? All right. Eagles training camp. A couple of takeaways from yesterday. One, the number one thing. I mentioned the corner. We'll get to that again, but that they traded for. The number one thing is Jahad Campbell for me. The number one thing is Jahad Campbell. The weapon that he could be defensively. I know that was a few and far between. You'll see guys listed as like offensive weapon or something like that. Well, defensive weapon is another way to talk about this. And Jahad Campbell can certainly be that guy, whether it's playing on the edge or whether it's being a inside linebacker next to Zach Bond. He's learning both. And from everything, Vic Fangio yesterday, when he was asked about Jahad Campbell, just said, he's got a lot on his plate, maybe even too much on his plate, and that's our fault. But he seems to be handling it. You're giving a young guy an opportunity to go out there and show what he could do. You're giving a young guy an opportunity to show what he could do as a rookie with a great defensive coordinator and a stud in front of him like Jalen Carter. That's gonna wreak some havoc throughout the NFL if he lives up to the hype that he's getting right now in training camp. I'd love to see him on Thursday. Again, like I said, I'd love to see it, but I doubt it's going to happen if he gets an opportunity to play on Thursday. Vic Fangio does like to play his, starters or, even second unit a good amount in the preseason just to get them all on the same page, make sure everybody's on the same page, get used to playing with one another again. I'm fine with that. Get their feet wet again and then get them the hell off the field. But I'd love to see Jahad Campbell in an NFL setting. I'd love to see with that raw talent that Vic Fangio was talking about, that Saquon Barkley was talking about. I would love to see that with an Eagles uniform on it and see what it could do potentially for the rest of the season. Well, when the season starts. So he's getting all the accolades right now. He's checking every box. He's doing everything right. minding his P's and Q's when it comes to the trash talk, just making sure he goes out there and he's a good rookie. He understands his status with this team. Good for you. But hearing the rawness, hear him talk about how he feels comfortable and it's all coming along. He can just concentrate on football. When he talked about the idea of, there's so many instances there, unfortunately, where you go out there in college and you also got to worry about going to class. Well, he's just focusing on football, how much of a relief that is. I think it was Jalen Carter. I can't remember if it was Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis that mentioned that during their rookie seasons. But he's already in that mindset. And he's got the raw athletic ability to go out there and show you how much it matters to just be able to concentrate on football. So I look forward to that. Now, the cornerback position. Go back to this trade again with Jacorian Bennett, 4th-round pick out of Maryland. Now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, going to be adding some competition to the cornerback room. In this, I know, as I said to start the show, just for the people joining us now, I know a lot of people are going to jump to the Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo thing and say, oh, well, is this another guy to compete for that job? Well, yeah, of course. I mean, anytime you add to the room, there's going to be more competition, sure. But for me, the bigger thing in all of this is the Eagles feel pretty safe and secure at the defensive tackle position to get rid of a guy who played well for them last year in Thomas Booker IV. There were a couple of plays last year where it was just like, that Thomas Booker guy was in on that. Good for him. But without Milton Williams being here, you would think, they need help at defensive tackle. And you got a guy that you knew could at least hang at the NFL level. Meanwhile, you're watching a guy last year like Moro Ojomo really take major strides. And from everything you hear in training camp, he is still taking those major strides to this point. So, with that being said, what's the next step? Well, the next step is obviously more playing time. So they look at the defensive tackle position right now, especially with Ty Robinson, the rookie out of Nebraska, being here, as if they have other guys that are expendable. And Thomas Booker IV is a guy that they looked at as expendable. Now, if he's expendable and you still don't have a named corner, but you have two guys that are certainly your front runners in that position, in Jackson and Ringo, well, then that means that what you got at the DT position, you feel pretty good about. Now, it's a guy in Moro Ojomo who we've only seen take strides, and it's a guy in Ty Robinson who's a rookie. So if you're telling me you're getting rid of a guy who's a proven commodity, at least to be serviceable at the NFL level, that means you got something better. And you got something you could either start out where Thomas Booker started out, or left off, I should say. You can have Ty Robinson already playing at that level. You're going to have more. I'm pretty confident Moro Ojomo, who did get more snaps last year, is still going to be able to take off from where he left off last year. So to me, this is a confidence boost more so for the defensive tackle spot, especially with the who's departed from that spot in Milton Williams over this past season. Now, cornerback spot, you can also look at Isaiah Rodgers not being here anymore. You can look at, obviously, Darius Slay going to Pittsburgh. To me, it's more about depth at that position. It's not so much about elevating or shrinking the strides through training camp of Ringo or Jackson. So this is more a compliment, I think, to the DT position than it is the CB position. That's the way I see this. Now, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley ran for 2,000-plus yards last year. Saquon Barkley accounted for 482 touches last year. Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year. Through all of it, apparently the best part of Saquon Barkley's game is trash talk. Now, I don't remember a time where trash talk got this much attention at training camp. I can't remember a time. Moro Ojomo has talked about it. Saquon Barkley obviously talked about it yesterday. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Tyler Steen. Just about everybody. Quinyon Mitchell, who got another interception yesterday. Way to go, Quinyon. It is insane to me how much this is getting attention. It makes me feel, one thing in particular, it makes me feel like there must not be a lot going on. Other than the cornerback position and that battle, like Tyler Steen has all but locked up the right guard position. As much as you can lock up a position in the first 2 weeks of training camp, Tyler Steen's he been done that. So for trash talk, first off, it's just fun. Second, it makes you feel like everything else is pretty locked up. The safety position, Sidney Brown is doing a great job with it right now. Drew Makuba is fighting his way back, trying to stay healthy. We've talked about the cornerback position. Other than health, I mean, Zach Baum with his back contusion, Nolan Smith concussion. Other than that stuff, you got to be feeling pretty damn good about where everybody's at in training camp. So then all of a sudden this story comes out about how much trash talk. Hey, I don't know. Maybe it is worth paying attention to because it apparently hasn't happened at this level. I would like to think that with BG being here for as many years that it's been at this level in the past. I'd like to think with Darius Slay being here for as long as he was here that it would have come up more often. Nope. It also shows that these guys are really getting along. And I think it was Reed Blankenship, who, by the way, got a big shout out from Saquon yesterday also as far as the trash talk that Reed Blankenship brings to the table. But Reed even mentioned the other day that, yeah, we go out here and we battle. We go out here and we compete, but then we go into the locker room and we're best friends. Like, all right, let's keep it at that. In a lot of ways, it makes me feel similar to the way the offense talked about having tough conversations last year. Like, yeah, they could trash talk on the field, but then they get into the locker room and they're buds. Or they can have those serious conversations in the meeting rooms and then get back into the locker room, and then all of a sudden they're still buds. Have the uncomfortable conversations. So love to hear that. Love to see that from Eagles training camp. Before I get into the chat check, hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Want to go to the game? Want to go to the concert? Want to go to the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. And don't forget about the Game Time Picks feature. You know what that does? That filters out all the fluff, so we get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. And how about Sky Motor Cars, Brett's Amazing Inventory? Check out Brett's Amazing Inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how everybody's doing. Sean Kilrain, hello. Most home runs through the first 112 games, Phillies history. Kyle Schwarber, 40. Ryan Howard, 39 in 2006. I went back and I watched that Ryan Howard home run off Mike Mussina. You know what I forgot? Because I also went, because I wanted to check the distance. They didn't have the distance then. But apparently against the Marlins, he hit like a 496 or 97 foot home run. That's pretty wild on the Ashburn Alley. But Ryan Howard hit 2 home runs off Mike Mussina in the game that he hit to the third deck, right over the old Auto Trader sign. And I remember watching that the day after it happened. I was in Peru at the time, and I was vacationing. And yes, I went to see Machu Picchu. It was incredible. But anyway, got face to face with a llama, kicked me right out of the hut. It's like, you should probably go. And I was like, I'm gonna go. Anyway, an actual llama. Yeah, that's right. Just wanted to enjoy some hay. Not me, the llama. And I was just like, oh, heard a little rustling behind me. I was like, oh, I'll Homer Simpson out of here. But I was in Peru, and I remember going to the internet cafe. This is almost 20 years ago. And going to the internet cafe, I wanted to see what the Phillies did. And I'm like, I know they played the Yankees. I just want to see what they did. And on the worst internet connection, other than the early days of the Farzy show, saw Ryan Howard hit that home run to the upper deck at Citizens Bank Park. And I was like, did that really just go up there? And I had to wait for it to buffer like 7 times. And I'm like, oh my God, it did go up there. But that was an incredible season. But what I forgot was the Phillies lost that game. 97. Ryan Howard hit 2 home runs. They lost that game. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. By the way, Schwarber now on pace for 58 home runs. Howard, 58 home runs in 2006. Yep, absolutely. Franchise record. Hell yeah, Sean Kilrain. So it's by Jacorian Bennett. Sean Kilrain was the only cornerback with 300-plus defensive snaps last season with 0 touchdowns allowed and less than 5.5 yards per target, less than 70 passer rating when targeted. All right. There we go. Maybe he is going to be the starter. Maybe they have no confidence in the cornerback spot. Yeah, so the numbers, and Max Kepler got a at-bat last night, struck out on 3 pitches, so he wasn't helping himself. This hasn't worked out for Max Kepler. Sometimes that happens. But Justin Crawford hitting 360 with runners in scoring position. Kepler hitting 143 with runners in scoring position. I need this to happen. It's probably not going to happen until after the second week in August. So we got about 12 days before you can see him up here at the major league level. The thing is, he comes up, Rob Thompson. Dave Dombrowski is exactly right. He's got to play. He comes up, he's got to play. Spurgeon King, classes? We talking about classes? Not a game. Classes? That's funny. Rye, what's up, Rye? How you doing? Good morning, Farzy and friends. Dallas sucks. Met a huge fan yesterday and thinks they have a chance. There you go. Jason A, good morning. Darkwing Ducky, hello. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned should we be about the Birds secondary? I'm not concerned. I think they got viable options, especially look, even Jacorian Bennett, for instance, viable option. Cowboys are going to trade Parsons, and I'm going to enjoy every second of that as long as it's not within the division, because I don't think the Eagles are going to go after him, although it would be hilarious. April. Good morning, April. Sean Gillespie. Hello. April, pay that man, right? April. Also, I am sad that for some reason the MLB app thinks that my local teams for the TV blackout are the Orioles and the Nationals. Sounds like I missed a lot of great crookedness last night. He talked about how, when he talked about how his daughter, I think, wants to be a nurse and how they're dealing with cadavers right now. And she's like, if you could open a jar, you could take off a person's ear. I was like, oh, thanks. Okay. There you go. HSU. Hello. Nice to see you. Good morning to you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Morning Rush, Phillies tonight, 6:45, Taiwan Walker on the hill. More of me, Fox 29, coming up at 7:45. Also, Locked On Eagle Squad podcast. I think we're doing today at noon. We'll tweet it out. Also, Locked On 76ers coming up at 10 a.m. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. See you guys later today. Also, Phillies postcast tonight. Like and subscribe. Also, like and subscribe, Jacob Media. See you guys later.